Hey everybody, this is Joe, and I'm here in my Houston, Texas garden, and I'm on zone 9A, and it is the very last day of March, and I wanted to give you a tour of the back garden and show you what's going on. My first fun thing, this is a fennel plant, and it is blooming, and I wanted to show you. I've got my first swallowtail butterfly egg. That little yellow dot right there is a swallowtail butterfly egg. So I'm super excited about that. All right, so I've got the fennel blooming, and then the parsley, which is right next door, which is also a host for swallowtail butterflies, is getting ready to go to flower as well, and it's really pretty. It will only last until it gets really hot. It's a cool season crop, but hopefully I'll have enough butterfly caterpillars around to make a meal out of that. I have to show you, this is a zinnia that lasted all last year and overwintered. The one freeze that we had before December had a box that was insulated, something came in it, and it was still in the garage, and I just dumped it over on top of this, and it made it through the freeze when everything else died to the ground. And so this is like my favorite zinnia. So I bought some more. I couldn't get any to germinate this year from my own seeds, which I don't know why, but so I bought two more. I don't think it's the same kind, but I have hopes that maybe it's the same kind. It's got those long leaves, but we'll see if that'll grow into itself and be what I hope it is. This Amy is just so big, and it's got so many flower heads all over it. I didn't expect that. My vague recollection last year was that they just had sort of one or two. So it's so wonderful. I kind of wish it wasn't like right at the front, and this is my little walkway. I wish it wasn't right in the front, so I'm worried I'm going to break it off. And then I've got this volunteer parsley also, which is tall. So I kind of have to climb back here and try not to break it all off when I go through. Poppies, fabulous. And then this is the black and blue salvia here. You can see the one I didn't deadhead in time, or didn't pinch back in time. And then I've got right here some pale yellow and some white sunflowers that should be pretty tall, about 5 feet tall. So this will get about 4 feet tall. So this will be 5 feet behind it. So that's my kitchen window. So I'm always thinking about what the view is going to be from my kitchen window. It's a big window. We walk by it all the time. But there's a little blue jay in the bird bath over there. You see him? Taking a bath. Yay. And in Houston, it gets so hot in the summer that I don't really want to go out here when it's 110, but I will look out the window. And so I always think about my view from the house. Here's my first little carrot blooming, and he's so pretty. And then this carrot, I guess this is also a carrot, and I must have broken off. I wonder if I broke off the middle at some point, because it's got a ton of little flower heads as well. And then I've got lots of zinnias coming up back there. And then I ordered some more of that Tutti Frutti Agastache, which was so spectacular last year, and it finally came, and so I've got the little babies in the ground. And then I think this is a volunteer, one of my favorite plants anywhere is the Verbena bonariensis, which you see all over the English cottage gardens. I bought a ton of it a couple of years ago, and it just didn't last. It was so unhappy here. And I guess this one is self-seeded. I mean, I haven't had it in the garden in a year. I guess it's self-seeded right in the middle of this lily. So, nature, what are you going to do? Here's this fantastic Cleome now, and one of my previous videos, I called this a spider lily. It's not, it's a spider flower, also called a cleome, and these are its little seed pods, which I think gives it that spidery, spider leg look. So I apologize, I misidentified it a while ago. Here's my weed. It still hasn't bloomed. It's 3 feet tall. We're still waiting to see what it is. I'm not sure. We had some suggestions, which I appreciated, but I'm not entirely sure any of them were right because it just has gotten so weird. I've got some zinnias that have finally gotten big. And this is that salvia big blue. You know, it just did so terribly through the winter. I only have one that's really pretty, and the rest are small, and then a couple of them are just like tiny, tiny back there. So I had always meant for this to be salvia mystic spires in this spot. I like it the best. It grows the best in my yard. And it comes back every year really well. And I couldn't find it the year I planted this garden. And so I ended up with, I started with salvia indigo spires, and it was so tall and just flopped over on top of everything. So I tore that out. Then I tried to find mystic spires, couldn't find it. I found big blue. It was okay. I like it. It's slightly bigger than mystic spires, but its performance over the winter and here in the spring is terrible. And so I saw some mystic spires at the store, and so I bought some, and I just figure as these poop out, I will keep replacing with the mystic spires, which is what I really, really wanted in the first place. There's Miss Doubtfire. Hello, Mrs. Hello. She's ignoring us today. These beautiful delphiniums. I love the delphiniums in the background with that scabiosa. So sweet. It's so sweet. And then, oh my goodness, this is Monarda Peter's Purple, and it's already so big. It didn't bloom until I think the end of April, maybe even May last year, but it sure seems like it's, you know, now it's well established in the garden, and maybe that means it'll bloom sooner. And I have spent a lot of time in the garden lately pinching back, and so you can see I have pinched back. I tried to pinch back every single stalk, and even now if I sort of root through and find one that's not been pinched, I'll go ahead and pinch it back. So here's another example of I broke the middle out, pinched out, now I'll have 2 flowers instead of that just one. And so it's really full, and I've tried to do that to every plant that sort of has this kind of nature where I can pinch the middle, pinch the middle, pinch the middle. And I've already pinched the middle of all these. They finally, I kind of wait for them to get a little bigger. I don't want to pinch them when they're tiny. Look here, there's my example. That's one of the big blues that you can see how big it was. And it just, this is the whole thing right here. So that's why I went ahead and got this Mystic Spires, which is just, I love it anyway. It's my favorite one. I love all my grasses are filling in, so pretty. And all my little bluebonnets, Texas bluebonnets, are going really strong still. Now my garden looks really bare because I found thrips on my roses, and so I have had to remove every rose and every bud that is open a little bit. If they're still just green like this, I've left them. But if they, you know, like I maybe should have pulled that one. It's got a tiny bit of pink showing through. A thrip can get in there and it will do massive damage. And so I can see now I've climbed back, I've missed some. So I'll come back through and take the rest and make, you know, do a second run through. I haven't done every rose bush yet just because there's so many of them. But it looks awfully bare, and this was just getting ready to bloom. That's Old Blush, and so there was a lot that was still really green and tight buds, and so I just cut everything that was bigger and blooming off of that bush. But I still have so much to go. It's just a terrible task to have to do, to go and cut all of your roses down. Fortunately, this is Caldwell Pink, and fortunately it has not really come out. So most of the, you know, these buds are super tight and the thrips haven't gotten into them yet. So if I can cut every rose and every bud, like here's one that needs to get pulled off, a thrip can get in there. And I did a little short on thrips that you can watch. They can get in there in that tight little bundle. And if they do, then they can spread all over the garden. And so I've left everything that's still green, and I'm trying to get rid of every single thing, but it's just, so depressing. So depressing. Ooh, so this, I'm putting that in my pocket, so because those little suckers can fly. And so if you bump that rose trying to get it, clip the rose off, they'll fly and just fly into the rest of your garden. So you have to just I literally put a plastic bag underneath the rose and snip it and let it fall directly in the bag, and then close the bag up and kind of go around the bush like that. And so, they're terrible. Okay, I've never grown this before. This is dwarf Joe Pye weed. I've never grown it. I had never heard of it until probably last year. And now here's an example of I wasn't paying attention, and this got past me. It's getting ready to bloom right there. If I had pinched that back when it was this tall, I would have 2 flower heads instead of 1. And that's my bad, because I didn't get around to it. By the time I realized I hadn't done this one, it was too late. It already had flowers on it. And I could cut that, but I don't want to. So, and you can see I missed 2. These blooming salvia black and blues, I didn't pinch back, but you can see all the rest of them are a little shorter, and they have lots of little leaves, and that's where I did pinch back. But look at that. Oh, I love salvia black and blue. It runs wild, and I end up having to tear it out all over the place in the garden, but it is worth it to have it in there. It's so, so pretty. And eventually I will cut this down completely to the ground in the middle of the summer, and it'll come back up and be beautiful the whole fall as well. So it's a great plant, but you have to give it room, and if you don't want something that spreads, then put it in a pot. The cone flowers are looking so pretty. And then I have had a couple that self-seeded, and it's going to be interesting to see what that turns out to be. If that seed was made by crossing 2 of these the same, it'll look the same. But I have other cone flowers, so if a bee hit this flower and hit a different cone flower and germinated a seed, if that's what fell there, who knows what. I made my own hybrid, and so who knows what it's going to look like. I really hope that it was not hybridized, and that those seeds are going to come true. But we'll just have to wait and see. Oh, that gomphrena, look at that. It's coming back so well. And I cut back, these are little pansies or violas. I just chopped them back. I thought they were dead, and they all kind of perked back up. And then I've got something eating all these pansies. They just look kind of terrible. But this little dianthus looks so good and pretty. And I love its kind of little gray-green leaves. And this is more red than I hoped it was. It's supposed to be hot pink, but it kind of reads red. Okay, so I took all this dead star jasmine off the garage wall. It didn't make it through. It died down 2 years ago in a terrible freeze, and then again this year. And so I'm just going to completely remove it, and I am going to replace it with, because it gets a lot of shade, I'm going to replace it with a sky vine called Thunbergia. And it's not native to Texas, but it will have nice blue flowers, and blue's hard to find. A lot of times it's hard to find just true blue flower, and it'll be a good host for bees, so they'll be happy. And so I'm hoping, I bought 3, and I'm hoping they'll be all right in the kind of weird conditions of some bright sun in the morning and then mostly shade all day. I didn't spend too much money on them, so if it doesn't work out, I'll try something else next year. Ooh, the plumbago. Look, I love it when it comes back, all fluffy and pretty like that, and those bright green leaves. So I'm excited about that. And here I had already pruned this back before I realized there were thrips in the yard. And so now I've just I can see another one that I missed up there. But I mean, my goodness, this thing, I pruned this. Let's see. I did this cut right here, I did that cut maybe 10 days ago or less. I already have a new shoot that's already got little buds coming at the end. It's bonkers. I just cut these off. Boom, I already have that. This rose, this is excellent Von Schubert. It's one of my favorite things. It just goes and goes and goes and is tough. And, oh, I love it. All right, let me walk you around. I just wax poetic over the excellence Von Schubert, and I'm lucky it bloomed, and then it's not really blooming right now, and I cut a whole bunch off, and so it's not terrible as far as losing all those buds to the thrips. And oh, I won't walk past the succulent theater's looking pretty cool. And this, oh, sun's coming out. Look at this. I had so much fun putting that together. I have a little short about it, but I just had a ball doing that. I really watched a how-to video, and so I had never really put anything quite in like that. And I'm so happy. I just love it. And I got a new pot from good old Campo di Fiore. Got a new pot from them. Oh my goodness, look at this caterpillar. Just booking it across. Can you see him? Oh my goodness. What on earth? Who are you? What are you doing? Where are you going? You're so fast. Oh, now he's like, be still, pretend you're not here. I don't know what kind of caterpillar you're getting. Look how fast he is. I don't know where he's going. That's so fun. That's so fun. These are my mom's amaryllis, and they are so beautiful every year, and so they make me happy to see. I've got I don't want to step on that little caterpillar. I don't know where he went. This is that false indigo, and I did cut it. I wasn't sure what to do. It just was sticks for so long, and so I just treated it like anything else, and I just sort of cut about 3 feet off of it, and now it's got 2. I hope it'll be a little bushier. And then I planted my purple hyacinth bean vine here, and when I pulled all the old weeds and everything out, I found this. This is a native Texas pale yellow passion vine, and it's small. It only gets about 3 feet. I planted some here a year ago, and I thought it was long dead, and then here it is, popped up. So I hope I might move it, because I really want all this hyacinth bean vine to grow up here and be gorgeous. And then yesterday I trimmed the Texas kidney wood. You know, it can be so bushy, and so I trimmed it and trimmed it. I picked a height that I wanted it to be a tree above, and I just picked a height and trimmed everything off below that, and then tied it up. So it's very floppy, so I'm not sure. And we lost in the freeze the main stem that went over the fence. Everything over the fence, I'm sure, got caught in the wind, died, and so my main thing is gone as far as it looking like a tree. So I'm trying to kind of pick. I've got a lot of upright sort of sprouts there, so I'm hoping I can still get it up into a tree. And then for now, I'm leaving this. This is the little parsley hawthorn. I'm going to leave that, but eventually I'm hoping to trim that into a tree as well, kind of the same height as the fence. But for now, I'm just letting it kind of settle in. It looks pretty and sparkly out in the sun there. I'm sorry, I thought it was going to stay overcast. I haven't found any monarch caterpillar, any monarch eggs on my native milkweed, although I've had monarchs flapping around for days, but I haven't seen any eggs. But you know, it's very possible they're there and I just haven't found them. Now here, Gentle Hermione, this incredible rose, is going to bloom but I'm sure it's got thrips up inside that bud. I can already see that it's a little bit stunted as to, you can see it's already brown on the edges, so it's not going to open like I want it to. But I will just cut that whole thing off and bring it inside, and it may or may not, you know, I might rinse some of the thrips off in the kitchen sink and see if I can have a pretty little thing next to the sink in the kitchen, but get those thrips out of the yard. I replaced my porterweed back there this week, the one that I had died last year, and so I'm hoping that'll get big and beautiful. And ooh, I'm just waiting for, oh, and it's got a little flower on it already, but this thing will get like 5 feet tall with huge purple spikes. And so that is a pretty thing, and it's native to Texas. And then this little thing, oh, it's getting ready to pop, but it just hasn't yet. Every time I look at it, I keep thinking, today's the day. This is that dwarf Barbados cherry, and I keep thinking, today's the day those flowers are gonna open, and then they don't. And then this is a Duranta back here. I've never grown one. I planted this in the fall. I hope it has enough sun back here to bloom, but I don't really know what I'm doing with that plant. I'm all new to that. And then this drives me crazy. I have to wait and leave, you know, I have all this space with no flowers in it around this grass, but that grass will take up all of that space. So there's no real sense, you know, and in a month, it'll be huge. So there's no sense in me planting anything around here, but it does look kind of bare for the time being. And oh, look at these little self-seeded Johnny jump ups. Is so cute. And then this is one of the crazy things. This sedum, you know, I just put a little piece in the ground. I don't think I even really covered this in the freeze. It is so hardy. And I kind of like it with that bright green, yellow green, and then these purple sweet potato vine leaves over it. That's really a cool combination. I have to make sure that the sweet potato vine doesn't smother it, but for now, what a pretty little combo. Ooh, and the foxglove. Finally, foxglove number 2, 3, and 4 showed up. Isn't that the prettiest thing? I am so happy. I love that color. I bought a mix, and you know, the first one was this color, and this is gorgeous, but I was hoping I'd have some pink ones, and it you know, at least 3 more are pink, and so that's awesome. And I have got green anole lizards absolutely everywhere. Hey bud, look at you. Hi, say cheese. He's our little native Texas lizard. We have a lot of brown, I think they're called Cuban browns, that are an invasive species. They're still cute. Over here, I've got, so they're all very similar things. That's carrots, which I have a white flower. This is fennel, which will have a yellow flower, and then there's Amy right next to it, and that'll have a white flower. And then down here is that pink Amy called Dara is the variety, and it's supposed to be pink. And so, you know, I'm really thrilled. I'm very excited to see what happens here. And then here I've got the same thing. There's all this empty space, but those grasses are going to get massive. And so I can't plant anything around it in a month. All that space will be covered up. Now this is fun, I've got another Amy here, and then I had all of this cosmos pop up. This is just self-seeded from last year. I just noticed it. This all cosmos in there. And so I'm really excited to see what happens there. And then this, I think is just, there's a couple of cosmos under here. I think that is fennel. I know I threw fennel seeds out here. And so maybe that's fennel. But it's definitely, I'm trying to, you know me, I've got these little cloches on so I don't step on things. And they're not really to keep Sometimes they'll help me keep squirrels off, but it's mostly to keep me off. I don't know if I introduced you all yet. Mrs. Doubtfire was lonely for another black cat in the yard, and so this is Fred. We named him after my dad. I couldn't resist him in a antique shop. He's our little addition. And there are tons of hot pink 4 o'clocks. They're not open quite yet. That's self-seeded from last year, and so I didn't have to I put some in last year and I've just left it, and they have just come up all over the place, and I love them. I love them so much. And they're a really nice plant that will grow in deep shade, and they're all different, tons of different colors you can get, and I think cardinals will eat the seeds, although sort of they're poisonous, like don't you eat the seeds, but I think cardinals eat the seeds. And let me see if I can find one. Well, they're not really open yet, but let me see if I can show you if you don't know what a 4 o'clock is. It's just an annual, but they just, they self-seed everywhere. And they'll just open up, kind of a petunia-shaped plant. And you really can just they grow so easily, and they're good for little kids to grow because the seed is big and easy to plant, easy to handle, and it comes up very reliably and very easily. So if you've got little kids that you don't think are going to put things in their mouth because you don't want them to eat the seed, that's a really fun choice. And then deep back in here, I've got some self-seeded borage, which will be a beautiful blue flower. And it makes me itch, but it's wonderful to have in the garden, and it's really great for bees. And then I'll go back here. I haven't been back here in a long time. This is a, oh gosh, what's the name of that vine? Rangoon creeper. It's beautiful. I don't have enough sun for it to bloom, but it's a beautiful, beautiful vine. It dies to the ground every year and comes back. I encourage you to Google what the flowers look like, because you will then immediately want one of these vines. So it's coming back in a very robust way. And my little Cleo is still chugging along back there. And then let me show you this mock orange that my friend Hallie gave to me. And I thought it was just gonna sort of bloom and then be done, but I keep getting new flowers on it. And we broke a big piece off, putting this wax myrtle in. And so it just branched out, and now I've got 2 more little babies coming up. And she told me it was the prettiest thing in her yard when it bloomed, and I believe her. It looks like a little dogwood to me. Oh, I'm just realizing there's a coral berry I forgot I bought and haven't planted. And this little sweet spire is so pretty and sweet, and I'm just noticing that looks like there's going to be a little flower on it. I'm not really sure what the flower is going to be like or how showy it's going to be. I think the big this is native to Texas. The big kicker on this is it has really beautiful fall foliage. And so when I bought it, it had gorgeous purpley maroon leaves. And see, here's even more of those little 4 o'clocks. They just are so easy. And then these they just keep going. These are Corsican violets. I have not been able to get any of them to germinate from seed, but I do buy these just at the garden center and in the winter. And they just kind of have kept going and going. And even when I thought, oh, I think they're dead, then I look back here and there's purple flowers all over again. And here's my little American beautyberry, which I'm happy to see is not dead. And then all of this obedient plant that I planted back here, I thought was dead. It'll bloom in the fall. Beautiful pink flowers. I pinched it back, as you know I do. But I thought that was dead, and I looked out here a couple weeks ago and realized that that survived and came back from the root. And I'm watching my yellow columbine, my Texas columbine with bated breath. It's so pretty. I wish I wish it would last all year. Even just for the foliage, it's just so floaty and that gray green. And then here is all the stuff that's self-seeded down there, and it's getting bigger. I don't know what I'm doing with this, but maybe it'll just take care of itself and bloom here. I'm going to be really happy if it does. All right, I am terrible at propagating, but I encourage you guys, if you want to propagate, if you want to feel like you are a propagator, like my friend Rachel over at Gulf Coast Butterfly Gardening, who is the queen of all propagating, geraniums apparently are what I can propagate. I broke this piece off. These are scented geraniums. I just broke these pieces off a couple of months ago, and they haven't necessarily gotten bigger, but this one little bloomed and everything, but they're alive, and that makes me really happy. Even this one, which is kind of pitiful, but even that is still alive. And so the other thing I've propagated, and I'm very proud of, there's Miss Doubtfire. I'm gonna walk towards you. Don't be excited. It's your mom. You remember me from earlier? I'm just looking at this flower pot with the people. Chicken. I stuck a ivy geranium in here, and I put two in here, and I thought I was, at some point I assumed that I had put this in there. It bloomed this week. Nope, it's that one right there. Well, anyway, I'm gonna move it into a different pot, but I'm super proud of myself. So geraniums, the scented geraniums and the ivy geraniums apparently are easy to propagate, because even I can do it, and I am not good at propagation. This I cut back just to the nub, this dragonwing begonia, and it just has come back so pretty. This is one of my favorite things, and it looked beautiful all year long. We just put it in the garage when it got really cold, just for 3 days. Other than that, it's been outside, except for 3 days in the last 365. It has been outside. It was beautiful, got kind of gangly. I just chopped it, and here it is again. Maybe 6 weeks after I whacked back on it. It just looks great. Here's my coral nymph salvia. I'm so happy with. Look how sweet. Isn't that so pretty? Let's see if I can get it to be in focus for you guys. Come on now. So pretty. Is it not in focus yet? I'll put my hand behind it, so maybe that'll help it. That's not helping. I'm determined to show you. There it is. Isn't it sweet? I love it. I love it. Word on the street is that once you have it, it'll self-seed all over your garden, and you will always have it. Star of the show, still Gulf Coast penstemon. Still. I was going to show you a flower, and there's bees. There are bees everywhere. I'm like, oh, don't put your hand in there. There are bees everywhere. Hey, bud. There are little bee. Oh, there he comes. They really are liking that plant. I'm finally getting some growth and some flowers on my great big pentas that remind me of tiny little hydrangeas. And my Texas redbud is really starting to look nice. And I'm going to end on this. This is Amistad salvia, and it is, it's got to be 4.5 feet tall already, and I've pinched a lot of it back. This was blooming because I missed this one, but I pinched it back. You can see I've got a bunch of them that I've pinched, and you can always tell the ones I missed. It is such a great plant, and it takes shade. I learned something recently about salvias. The bigger the leaf, the more shade it can take, and this gets a ton of shade. I mean, a lot of shade, but look how big the leaves are. And so the smaller the leaf, the more sun it's going to require. Well, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend and that you're out in your gardens. And if you're somewhere cold, that you're bundled up and you've got a bunch of seedlings in your basement. I'll take care. Bye-bye.